Hello guys, how you doing? Welcome to Lee Stafford Education Masterclass. My name's Lee Stafford and I'm going to be your host as normal. We've got a very, very special guest presenting today, very special staff. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass you over to him, the one and only Liam Fry.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Liam Fry, and I'm the owner and director of Tony Wood Hairdressing in Southsea. And I've got the great pleasure of being here with you today to deliver one of my favourite haircuts that I do in the salon. I do it regularly in the salon. And one of these reason why I love this cut is because of the definition that you can get with it sometimes. However, today, doing the one length above recipe, we're going to be doing this haircut in a slightly different manner using a slightly different tool. Now, I just wanted to give you a bit of backstory of this haircut so far. I've popped the sectioning pattern in there really nicely. There we are. The hot cross one across the top there, really nice and clean. And we've got our section at the back there. And it's what we would normally do with this haircut is that we would be using our scissors and we would be cutting a very sharp, straight line with it, making sure our scissors were parallel with the floor and nice and horizontal, using that inside out cutting method. However, today, I'm aiming to not use my scissors at all. I'm going to be using a razor. Now with this razor, it's going to create a slightly different result that we would normally get with the one length above. However, what I love with it, it makes it look a little bit more lived in and a little bit more textured. So I'm super excited to share that with you all today. So thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Good afternoon, Lee. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very well, mate. Very, very good. Looking forward to seeing what we'll do here.
Yep, so I just want to show you the tool that I'm going to be working with. There are many, many different variations of the razor or the cutthroat razor, or there's so many different names for them. However, I'll be using an open blade today, so I'm going to show you a little close-up look here. So we have no guard on the blade today. If you're a little bit new with using razors, I would recommend to be putting a guard on the top of it, just so you don't catch yourself or anyone else around you. Bear in mind that you might have a client in front of you as well. So until you're more confident, I'd recommend to make sure that you're using a guard on your razor as well. So this one uses disposable razors. We can see here what we do is we snap one of the razors in half and then we pop them into the sleeve of the actual razor itself. Other razors, especially things like barbershops, they use a cutthroat razor where they sharpen it with I believe it's called a strop, where they run it up and down and they sharpen that blade off really quickly. This is single use, so we use this once, and then once we're finished with this, we pop it straight into the bin. However, today, as I mentioned before, we're going to be cutting the one length above using this tool here. And I would love to get into that and show you what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to pop this head right in the middle so you can see what I'm doing. Now, normally with this haircut, I'll be stood right behind it. However, just so that you guys can see exactly what I'm doing, I'm going to be leaning just to the side of it so you can see how I'm cutting the hair. So the first thing that I'm going to be doing, I'll be popping that center back parting in and creating my first section at the back there. So I'm just going to quickly pop that in there for you guys. And don't forget, everyone, if you have any questions whilst you're watching, please feel free to pop into the chat and ask any questions you wish. So I'm going to cleanly section the hair up out of the way so we know where we are cutting and where we shouldn't be cutting, and no other hair gets in the way from where we should be. And again, we've got a horizontal section, and I'm going to take another section from the inside out there. Now, the reason why I'm using a razor today is simply because I wanted to show you, even when you've learnt the recipe, you can still keep mixing it up and changing that. Oh, can everyone still hear me? We're still live. I think Lee's gone. So I'm going to carry on cutting here. So please bear with us whilst Lee's going to be jumping in and out. So I'm going to be doing this next section for you. So we've got our section at the back of the head here. And I am going to be using the razor to create our line that would normally go across. So this is a horizontal section. And we're going to be bringing it down, and we're still going to be creating a horizontal line parallel with the floor, making sure we're nice and level from side to side. Now, the accuracy with a razor is not as accurate as it would be if you're going to be using scissors. However, you can still get a really lovely straight line with a razor, and you're going to be getting a lovely texture through it as well. So this first section that I want to be doing, this is going to be our guide. So I'm going to be taking a small section from the middle. Normally we'd be using the comb, letting the comb rest and using scissors, doing the inside out cutting method. However, what I'm going to be doing here is taking a single section straight down with the blades in my hand still. And we're going to simply take the hair in our hands, nice clean section, make sure it's not reached up at all. Clean section going down, and we're just going to feather the razor on the end. We're not digging the razor in, we're just resting the razor onto the hair to create a real soft textured piece section. There we are. We can see already it's got a lot more of a feathered effect to the hair. And from this point, we're going to be working from the inside out, just as you would with scissors. We're going to be cutting, normally you'd cut from the inside out and then turning them over and cutting in the opposite direction. We're still going to work from the inside out, because if we started on this side and aimed for that length in the middle, we could end up taking this side a little bit too short. So we really want to make sure that we're not doing that. And the way we're going to be doing that is working from the inside out. So so we can see our length that we cut there. We're going to take the next section next to it and just use the razor just to gently feather the length. Perfect. Any long bits, straggly bits, just take them away. And again, take that section down, working across, giving it a softer edge to your length. And again, we're going to bring that down, moving out from the hair. Now, there are ways, I'm going to show you in a second, of how to create a stronger, sharper line with a razor, but you will inevitably get a little bit more texture with it than you would do with club cutting with scissors. So what we're going to be doing is that if you wanted to get a straighter line, is you bring the blade in from the side and you gently just work it through. So see if we can see a difference in the lengths compared to the other side. We can see this side's a lot softer, a lot more feathered, and on this side, we're a lot sharper. But what we're looking for is a real soft feathered edge. So I'm just going to go back over this and give it that softness that we're looking for. Fantastic. Already at the bottom there, we can see the hair just starting to stick out a little bit more. This is because there's so many more different lengths going through it, less of a sharp line to keep that structure of the hair along the bottom. So what we've got here is the hair starting to kick out and do a little bit of movement there already, which is really nice because that's exactly what we're looking for. So I'm just going to pop the blade away whilst I do the next section here. We're going to move one section up from the inside out. Lovely. And then again, keeping that sectioning really clean. Bump that hair up out the way. From one side. And then moving straight onto the other side. Whilst Lee's not here to ask questions, I can see the chat still. So if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to send them my way and I'll try and answer them as best as I can whilst I'm cutting the hair here. Amazing. Awesome. So I've got our next section again, nice horizontal section from side to side. Hair's going to be coming straight down. And just like we've done before, we've got our guide underneath, which through the hair that I've just dropped on top of it. And I'm going to be mirroring what I've done before. So we're not going to be lifting the hair out. We're not going to be pulling the hair out and then cutting. We're just going to keep the hair falling in its natural fall. And the same as we've done before, we're going to take a center back section, a little slither section. I'm going to take that razor I'm going to see our guide that we've got underneath, and we're just going to gently feather the razor over that section to meet up with the section underneath. Lovely. And again, we're going to be working from the inside out. Following our guide underneath. Something to be really careful with when you are using the razor is that you're not digging it directly into the hair, because we don't want to gouge the hair out with the razor. We want to be just touching the hair. So we're just almost just caressing it and dropping the blade down, almost so you're pointing the blade down onto the floor. So this is the angle that I'm actually holding the actual blade itself, but I'm just gently feathering the hair there. Hi there, Lee, you're back, buddy. I think you're muted, my man.
Oh yeah, sorry about that, guys. My internet just blew up.
No, it's good to have you back, mate. We carried on.
You were still on though, was you, Liam?
I believe so. If I wasn't, then I've been cutting away without anyone knowing. So I just carried on with the cut itself. So it's great to have you back, my friend. So yeah, just so I can recap very quickly whilst you've been away there, Lee. I've cut my first line in using the razor. We're just gently touching the razor onto the hair just to give us a more of a shattered textured effect towards the bottom. And the result that we're getting at the moment is not when you get that blunt line that you normally would do with a club cutting with a scissor. You're getting a lot more of a spread out from the hair, because you haven't got the structure that you normally would have at the base of the hairline.
Could you move that head in a bit closer?
Of course, yeah. There we go. Let me bring this down.
So just made a really interesting point. She says, would you hold the razor at a 45-degree angle, and would you hold it at a different angle for a different effect?
So that's a really good question, and you absolutely, every angle that you use this razor, you'll get a different result from. So the heavier you want to take weight out of the hair. So for example, if we wanted to take more away from the hair, we'd turn that blade in towards the head slightly. So let me give you an example of what would happen if we decided to take it in there. We would end up, rather than feathering the bottom where we are almost going vertically with the actual hair, we're going to go in at a 45-degree angle here, okay? You end up taking a huge amount more off than you would do if you're just going to be just slightly angling it directly towards the floor and then just caressing the blade. So we're actually almost, you can see the difference in that length there that I bring out to the side compared to everything else. It's actually a lot shorter, and that's because the blade going directly into the hair just takes more hair off. And the blade being as sharp as it is, you really don't need much pressure on the hair at all. What I'd recommend to do is to get one of the blockheads that you've got and just test it for yourself. Get a little feel with the razor and how it interacts with the hair. We're not going to be going up the hair shaft. We're always working directly down, because that's the way the cuticle of the hair goes. If we decided to put the blade up, we end up going to be almost splitting the hair as if you'd have split ends. But what we're doing here is we're just gently using the blade to take away the length there.
How do you cross when you're razoring, Liam?
So again, great question, Leah. I mean, how do you cross check? For me personally, visually. It's always got to be visually, because you're not looking for a perfect line. You've got to look at the hair, make sure that when the hair's in its natural resting position, that it's all sitting roughly the same, the right length that you're looking for. A lot of this, what happens with this tool here is that it's done by taking weight out of the hair. It's done by looking at visual and feel. So for me personally, get your shape in there first. And then if you need to take some weight out of it or anything, of which we're going to be doing later, you'll be doing that whilst the hair is dry. So you mainly want to be doing it whilst it's wet, just to get that shape in there more than anything. I'm going to bring that back in. We're going to move on to this other side here. So we're going to bring this down, taking our small little section. I'm going to pinch that again. See our guide just underneath there.
So
a soft
can you do a razor cut? Any cut that you would do with a pair of scissors, could you follow the same technique and do it with a razor?
I believe so, yeah. There's nothing that I feel that you're going to get a slightly different result. Obviously, the precision that you get with scissors is very different from what you get with a razor blade. However, you will get a different variation of result that you're after. So I probably a good few years back, I've been doing hairdressing now for 21 years. And I did, back in when I first started hairdressing, I was doing the vast majority of my haircuts with a razor alone, because it used to be a very choppy sort of boy band texture back in the early 2000s. And it was perfect for that. So I used this for a lot of my haircuts back in the day. So it's nice to see these choppy hair and textured hairstyles coming back in, and we're able to get these back out of the drawer and to use them. I'd really strongly recommend to get your hands on some of these razors, because it transforms your hairstyles. It gives you way more texture and a lot more softness towards in any haircut than you can really get with point cutting or texturizing with scissors. So this is a great addition to create more texture within your haircuts. Lovely. So continuing the inside out. So we're always working from the inside. We're never working from the outside in, because we don't want to take it too short on the outside of the haircut. Lovely. Okay, let's go a little bit closer so we can see the bottoms of this hair. You can see that texture that we're getting. It's a lot more see-through. It's a lot less of a sharp line there. And again, a lot of it's done visually. So if you see any long pieces that you might have missed, but it's a little bit underneath here, just take that back through and get that bit of hair, and then just whop it off with the razor. Lovely. So we've got one last section before we finish with the back hair. We'll work that through.
And Liam, how important do you think consultations are to getting the best result with your hair in the salon?
Oh, it's one of the, we spend, say for example, in Tonywood Hairdressing, we spend up to about 10 to 15 minutes sometimes doing a consultation before we've even touched the hair with scissors or comb or got it wet. When it comes to things like consultation, you are really, what you're trying to do essentially is get the vision of what your client's hair is, what they want with, and this is so important, into your head, so you can then translate that onto their head, which is, you're almost mind reading in some way. So you've got to be asking all the right questions to make sure you are getting exactly and understanding exactly what they're looking to achieve with their hair. So for me personally, it's one of the most crucial parts. 9 times out of 10, sorry to divert slightly there, is if you've not got a haircut right, if you rewind all of it, the haircut might be perfect, but if you rewind all of it, go back to the consultation, and did you spend as long as you did with that consultation? 9 times out of 10 is the consultation wasn't done correctly. So I find that the consultation absolutely key when it comes to anything like when it comes to cutting hair.
And what about how important is it to show pictures to clients, do you think?
Some people get, it's quite funny. I had a consultation the other day, and I asked her after about a few minutes of chatting with her, just asking about what she's looking to achieve. She said, oh, I don't want to be a bit of a pain, but I've got some pictures. And for me personally, pictures are incredibly powerful. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to do exactly what's in that image, but what you can visually see is exactly what they're looking to achieve. So you might be able to look at an image and go, listen, that's a great idea, but we might not be able to achieve that. However, we could try something else. But what you are doing is you're managing that client's expectations. So if a client says, I want this image, you're going to have to look at that and go, using your profession, you need to say, is it achievable? Yes, no. And if it is achievable, then you can actually explain how the hair is going to behave when you do that color or that cut on their hair, because no one head's the same. Okay, let's get that in there at the back. So again, start from the center, just gently running the blade over the hair. And we're just going to work towards the outside.
And how experienced do you think you need to be before you can start using the razor? I mean, do you need to be as experienced with cutting with scissors, or does it not matter?
I don't think it necessarily matters in regards to experience-wise. You just got to make sure you're using the razor for the right reasons. If you're using the razor to get a really precise haircut, you're not going to really get that. So you might want to get the haircut in with scissors first, and then maybe go through that haircut and use the razor to create that texture that you're after. So get that shape in with scissors, so you're absolutely got your perfect one length above. And then once you're finished with the one length above, get the razor out and then start using the razor to gently take weight away from the hair and then create that movement and texture that you're looking to achieve, so it doesn't sit so heavy towards the bottom. So how experienced do you need to be? I think you can pick up the razor straight away. However, and it comes back to my first thing that I mentioned to you guys, is just pop a guard on it, just so that you're being safe for yourself and whoever's around you, just so that you don't catch yourself. That's the last thing you want to be doing. So just respect the blade, I guess.
Have you ever cut yourself badly with the razor?
I've caught my thumb one time. I thought I closed it. I think I must have just pushed it onto it there by mistake. So yeah, that was a quick learn there, a quick plaster on top of that, and sorted that one out. But it's the same with scissors. The amount of times I cut my fingers with scissors to begin with, I still do it now. If I take my eye off the ball for 1 second, I end up taking my little bit of my finger off there as well. So you just got to be cautious as you're working with your tools. Okay. So we've got our soft line towards the bottom there now. I'm going to bring it up a bit closer just to make sure you guys can see. If I bring this in here, you can see towards the bottom now, it's a lot more soft, a lot more textured. We've still got the one length above. However, there's lots of little lengths towards the bottom. So it's going to give us a lot more of a shattered effect to the actual haircut itself. Now, normally what we would do with the one length above at this point is that we'd wrap dry and straighten this. But rather than having lots of noise going on in the background and waiting for me to dry this, I did prepare one before. However, this haircut, I actually put the sharp line on this one. So we're going to be using a razor alongside the sharp line with the length at the back through the rest of the haircut. This next haircut is actually been blow dried and prepared, so ready to go.
Same, Liam.
So the back's been cut with a scissor to create a sharp line. So let's have a look at the difference on that one. So we can see the actual sharpness of that. So we've got the lovely blunt line at the bottom there. But what we're going to be doing now is throughout the rest of this haircut, because we need to obviously, with the one length above, we take into consideration the ear so it's not being distorted with wet hair. We're going to be using the razor throughout the rest of this haircut whilst the hair is dry. And then we're going to be working in a nice little quirky fringe at the front there to really give it a nice focal point to the actual haircut itself. But this is all still going to be done with a razor.
So just recap. So that one you was just doing beforehand was a razor cut at the back, but this one you've cut bluntly with the scissors. Yeah,
absolutely. So I've done the blunt line at the back, and I want to see how this blunt line sits with a nice bit of feathered texture towards the sides, and see how they can actually work together as they go through, as they work through the haircut. So we're going to be working.
Two options, are you?
Sorry?
Right. You're just showing us two options.
Showing us two options. So we've got our sharp line there where we did with scissors. But what I want to do is I want to get a bit of a sort of a juxtapose really of a textured razored front with the sharp line at the back. So we want all that lovely weight and heavy texture. And then we're going to be bringing in the razor through the sides here to give it that liveliness and texture that we want through this actual haircut. And then as we work towards the front, I've already sectioned it out of the way. We're going to be putting in a really nice tidy fringe, but with a lot of texture with the razor. So I'm looking forward to putting that through there. So as we normally do with the one length above, we would wrap dry the hair and then we'd straighten the hair through. So we would do the one hand straighten and get the hair falling in its natural fall. We've already done that. So with any of your clients, we would normally do it with scissors. We would wrap dry and straighten, and then we'd cut our line from the previous guide section at the back and continue that forward towards the front. However, what we're going to be doing is using a razor now and just creating a nice little bit of texture and a slightly different shape with the razor to still give us a one length above, but with a slightly bit more texture going through it as well. Okay. So I'm going to take my next section, and this section here is going to go from the temporal directly back to our previously cut sections. So this is going to connect the back section that we cut already into the front. And we're just, instead of twisting and bumping this up out the way, I'm just going to gently clip it up out the way so it's not in the way for us. Don't want to start creating a curl within the rest of the hair, so we're just going to gently clip that up out the way. And with this piece here, we're going to actually take the blade, and instead of just taking pieces and cutting it away there, we're actually going to use the blade and cut it using the inside out method. However, we're going to be cutting from the back to the front rather than going from the outside in. So I'll take the blade again on the dry hair here. I'm just going to turn the head so you guys can see. So just going to hold the hair. We've got our short section, which is our guide at the back there, and we're just going to connect it down towards the front. And again, using it visually rather than making it look perfect. We'll create a new little shape there down towards the front, and then we can go back in and take any length off we want to, or any weight, just so it sits nicely with the back section. So even though we've used a razor through the front there, we can still get that nice consistent line from the back. So we've got the length at the back there, and then it ever so slightly drops towards the front using the razor. And that was done by simply, instead of using the razor and pushing it onto the hair and caressing the hair down with the blade, we're working from the outside in and taking length off that way. And again, we're going to take another section down. Gently clip it up out of the way. We can see with the light on there, we can see our hair, the guide underneath. Let's just lift that up. So the hair that we've cut before. So we're just going to mirror that section now. The shape there's coming together now. Awesome. And then the next one down. Top section, just let it fall into its natural fall. Piece off at the back. Start to see that shattered textured effect that we're getting towards the front there compared to the sharpness that we got at the back there. So we're getting a lot more texture using that razor through the front, which I think looks awesome. And then we're going to work onto the other side. So I'm going to move around this way. There we go. We've got our length there. I can see, I'm going to take that horizontal section again. Towards the temporal. Lovely. Comb the hair down into its natural fall. And just take the hair and just gently touch the hair with the blade. I'm not pushing the blade in at all. I'm just letting it run down to give us the shape we're after. Lovely. Did you used to use a razor a lot, Lee? Oh, you've muted again, mate. Can't hear you. You're gone again. If you've been talking, mate, please don't think I've been ignoring you because I haven't heard you. So forgive me.
No, I always came from the Sassoon camp, you know.
Okay.
So then it was all about scissors, 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 and then sort of razoring the hair with the scissors rather than a razor.
Got you.
So,
Yeah.
You know, so I haven't done that much razoring, to be quite honest with you. So it's interesting watching you go at it, you know. And I know that Tony and Guy back in the day, they were really big into the scissor
Yeah,
work,
absolutely.
the razor work, you know, and they were much more into that whole sort of textured, shattered vibe, weren't they?
Mm.
I mean, what do you think the difference is from maybe using a scissors and then going in and point cutting it and, you know, and doing that kind of texturing rather than using the razor? What do you think the big difference is?
For me personally, you can spend a long time texturizing with scissors. You are a lot more precise and a lot more controlled with scissors. However, you just get such more of a textured line than you would normally get with a razor. I think there are techniques within the Stafford education recipes where you're using like the shank of the scissors. I believe it's some of the level 3 recipes when you're using the inside of the blade of the scissors here, and you're just pushing it up the hair, and you're essentially creating a razored effect to the hair as well then, because you're just running a blade along the hair, and that's exactly the same thing that we're doing here. But I just feel that you get such a more sort of real lived in texture through here, a bit more. I suppose probably one of the main reasons why, Lee, I used it when I was younger, was because I wasn't that confident with my sharp lines. So I probably got away with a hell of a lot more with the razor itself. If I think back truthfully, I think I was probably nowhere near as confident as I am obviously with scissors or anything now. But it allowed me to still cut a haircut that didn't have to be perfect, but it gave a great result at the end too. So I think it's a lot more forgiving in my eyes.
Yeah. And do you think it's quicker as well to do the look with a razor?
To do the look, yeah, absolutely. The fact that we can just pull the hair out if we wanted to, and then just start taking weight out of the hair rather than taking each section up and having to point cut it, you can actually
Yeah.
work through the hair a hell of a lot quicker. But I mean, there's strength to both techniques. I love point cutting. You obviously can use different angles of point cutting to create different results within the actual look itself. So again, they give similar results, but I feel with the razor you just get a slightly softer result.
Yeah. And we've got our Leaf Stafford Education photographic competition coming up soon.
Ooh, exciting.
What advice would you give to the students on creating a winning competition picture?
Don't wing it. My advice is don't wing it. If you're going to be entering a competition, we do a lot of competition work at Tonywood Hairdressing, and the guys in the salon, they don't just rock up to London. We've spent a fortune on a photographer, makeup artist, wardrobe, anything like that, and they just go and wing it. What we do is we do months of prep beforehand. So if you've got a competition, say, do you know when the actual competition starts or when it's going to be judged?
That's a good question, Jane.
So,
when does the competition start? Can you put something in the chat?
yeah. So, I mean, say, for example, it's in March or April, for around that time. I would be now looking at what model, what look am I going for, creating a mood board, super, super important to give you a real direction and right idea of what you're looking to achieve for your final look. And not only that, the mood board is really important. Say, for example, you did work with a makeup artist and you had the fortune to have a team around you. The makeup artist and other team members can see exactly what you're looking to achieve rather than you trying to translate it to them. So preparation, making sure that you are knowing exactly where you're going with the look, and then execute it, and then using your creative mind and creative talent to create the hair in whatever style you want. But like I said before, don't wing it. You know, what's that saying? Failure to prepare, prepare to fail. And I love that saying. And it's so important that you don't just wing it and just walk through on it thinking that you've got it just because you've done it once on a blockhead. Keep practicing.
And what about models? How important are they?
Models key. Again, depends what look you're after. There's different types of model out there for everybody. And I think personally, I feel that if you could use like different types of models for different types of looks. So just to make sure that model suits the look that you're after, it suits their face shape. I mean, we could go into a plethora of sort of advice really when it comes to things like face shapes and appropriate haircuts, but just make sure your model is not just because they look great in a selfie, but they look great on camera as well. So maybe take some test photos of your model before you decide on what model you want to use. My other bit of advice, and this is a learning curve that I got when I was younger, because I did it myself. Don't use your mum as a model. I used my mum. I made a big mistake. It didn't look great. So you get a great friend who's really willing to let you go a little bit wild on the hair and be a bit creative. Okay, so I want to just blast this last line in here. I can see my guide clearly underneath there. And then I'm just going to go round the haircut and make sure it's level. But again, it's all visual, okay? So we just go in and alter it after we finish doing the outline. So if we need to alter it, we can. We just tweak it here and there just by picking some of the hair up and then razoring away. Okay, I haven't looked at this from the front yet, so I'm going by look. We may need to take a little bit more off one side than the other, but let's just check the lengths here.
How important is it to have the balance?
So for example, let's rewind this and imagine if we're doing the one length above in its classic form recipe. I believe it's probably one of the most unforgiving haircuts that you can do in hairdressing, because if it's ever so slightly off on one side, you can see it a mile off. So for me personally, it's getting that balance is super, super key, and making sure that you're looking there. I mean, what can we use to make sure we can measure it? You know, we could use, say, for example, just like a comb on its own. Let's move this out of the way, and we can just see if that's, you know, we can make sure that it's horizontal and that it all levels up that way. You can use our hands to test the length, and then it sort of drops off at the same time, which is really cool. At the moment, I feel I'm quite happy with what we've done so far. It looks pretty even. However, when we move this around now, we can get a bit more texture and movement towards the bottom rather than it being one block line, which I think is really nice, and it just livens it up a little bit more as well. Okay, so we're moving on to the front piece here. The question is, how short do we want to take it? Now, as short as taking it down to a grade 1, we're not going to do that. But one thing that comes into play, the more you take off, the more the hair growth line, the growth pattern, sorry, starts to come into play. I've got a terrible cowlick. If I decide to try and push it this way, it's not going to go that way. It's going to go back that way. So the shorter you go, the more the hairline starts to dictate where the hair is going to go. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting in a full fringe, but a razored full fringe, which can look super textured, super choppy, as if it's just been chewed up. And we want this real sort of, almost as if they try to do it themselves at home. So I'm going to be taking this out here. First things first, I don't need all this hair. Feels a shame to chop this all off, but I'm just going to take my scissors and get rid of all this. Less hair's in the way. And I'm going to get that. Again, same as we've done before, I'm going to take a horizontal section from one side to the other. Bring that down, and I'm just going to gently clip that up out of the way. Awesome. So same as before, we need to get our guides. Where do we want the length to be? Now, what I want to do is I want to go from point in the middle, and I want to get slightly longer. So almost going to come up to a triangular point here in the center. So I'm going to go slightly shorter in the middle, and as we go to the outside of the haircut, it's going to get slightly longer. So I'm going to pop that center line in there first. So center section. Move the hair out of the way. Bringing the hair out. And I'm going to use this to sort of choose where I want to have the hair falling. So we're going to go slightly high at the front, bring this out, and gently feather that fringe into the length I'm after. Nice. Lovely. So I've got my little length at the front there, and I'm going to just be bringing it ever so slightly longer as we go to the outside of the fringe. Next section.
How popular are fringes now, Tony, Liam, in the salon?
That's a good question. Fringes are always popular. Again, it comes down to suitability for the client, but the fringe that we're getting asked for all the time at the moment is the Wednesday Addams fringe. I don't know if you've seen any of the Wednesday new series on Netflix. Everyone loves that at the moment, and we're getting a huge amount of that, where it's a small little bit of hair in the middle and you've got this long bangs coming off the face there. And I think it looks really lovely. But yeah, fringes are super popular. Again, it comes down to suitability and if it's right for the client. Do they want to blow dry their hair every morning to get the fringe thereafter? But yeah, fringes are super important. And it gives a lovely focal point to the haircut as well. And already, let's bring that in there. You see this lovely texture coming in now. And then we're going to work onto the other side. Starting to create a real nice focal point to the actual haircut, rather than it just being length that hangs either side. We're getting this nice chewed up texture.
There does seem to be a lot more feel with the razor cut.
Absolutely. And I'm just going back in every so often just to take a little bit more off here and there. And I'm using, instead of going in with my full blade, like I was going flat on the hair a moment ago, I'm just turning the blade around and I'm almost just pointing it into the hair to take little pieces of hair out of there. So I'm just almost just touching the hair and taking hair off as I go. Last little piece on the outside here, and I'm going to bring another section down. Lovely. And again, we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for a really textured fringe. If we feel we need to refine it by any means, we can always go back in with the scissors if we need to, but we're really looking for something that looks like it's been lived in and you haven't got that sort of any sharp lines within it. It's the same as before. I'm just going to get my guide there. I'm going to follow that previous length I just cut. That competition sounds really good, Lee. It sounds really awesome. I've seen a couple of them over the years with you guys. Some of the results that you get are incredible. Oh, is he gone again? No problem. Anyway, right. So we're going to carry on here. Finishing the fringe to get the look that we're after. Lovely. Last section, we're going to bring this down. So going back to the competition talk, guys, I love good competition. I'd recommend anybody who's listening to this now to get involved if you can. Don't feel like, oh, I don't feel like you're good enough at all. I'd recommend just to get involved as much as you possibly can. It allows you to, one of the main reasons for me, it allows you to use your creativity in a way that you can't normally do in a salon. And I think it's really awesome to be able to just go, right, I'm doing whatever I want to do here, and to be able to really let your creativity let it flow. So I really would recommend, if you get an opportunity to be a part of that competition, please do get involved. Okay. Last part of this section now, bring this down. Hello, mate.
Back again.
Gotcha.
It's internet.
It's no problem whatsoever, my friend.
So you're still staying live, even if I get locked out?
I believe so. I've still got the live screen on the top corner there.
Guys, can you let us know, is Liam still live, and can you see him cutting hair, even if I lose my internet and get locked out? Can you let us know, please?
It doesn't say that I'm not live, which is cool. So for as long as it says I'm live, looking good, Liam. Cheers, Mike. Okay. I'm just going to liven this fringe out. I'm going to bring the fringe out, and I'm just going to use the tip of my blade there just to take some of the weight out from the interior of that fringe to really open it up and get a bit of texture through the middle. Lovely. Lovely. Okay, so there's the fringe in there for you. Not finished just yet, because I still feel these sides a little bit too bulky for my liking. So I'm just going to grab my comb. And I'm going to bring the hair out directly from the head. Side, and I'm going to again take the point of my razor, and I'm just going to go from the interior. We're just going to gently do this. You go too hard, you ended up taking a big hole out the middle of your haircut. So all we're doing here is we're just running the blade down the hair, through the middle of the hair, and then when we comb that out, can we see how much hair we're getting there? Getting lots of hair coming out from the hair, which is going to really soften this haircut and collapse the shape down.
So our competition this week, guys, is I did a show some time ago called Celebrity Scissorhands on the BBC. And the third series of that show, so we did it for 3 years, and the third series, who was the celebrity, hair celebrity Scissorhands judge at the end of the series? So who was the hair judge who was judging the celebrities at the end of Celebrity Scissorhands Series 3? The winner, as normal, gets a goodie box of Lee Stafford products. The first person to answer it will win.
Love it. I love that show, Lee. It was one of my favourite shows to watch on TV when that aired.
It was fun, wasn't it?
It was so much fun. It was almost like you had and this is when I was just an apprentice still, watching that show and just listening to the conversations that the clients were having with some of the team. Oh, it was fantastic.
It was great, mate. Who would have thought a hair show could have been that funny?
Oh, I think it could work today. You know, if you look at the likes of what they do with Love Island and The Apprentice and all that sort of thing would be absolutely brilliant to see on TV again. Just to get that sort of voyeuristic idea, behind the mirror sort of thing, where the viewer can watch the hairdressers work away, especially when they're not as experienced hairdressers working on hair. It can be, the comedic value of it's incredible.
I think that was what made it, really, is that you had a load of hair celebrities that were really trying but weren't professional.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, there was lots of jeopardy there, wasn't there?
Oh, for sure. And I just thought it was just great if they got something wrong and how they sort of reacted to it. Because I'll never forget when I first got my first haircut, that just didn't go quite right. You get those cold sweats, and when you see their looks on their faces when it just isn't working, it was just so good.
Can you remember who the judge was? Don't say it, but can you remember?
No, crikey. Off the top of my head, no. I've got an idea, but I'm not going to say.
I mean, the first season was great because we had all the hair royalty there, from all the Moscona, Wald, Errol Douglas. I mean, There was just an array of hair gods judging the first series. And then the second series, who did we have? I can't remember. The third series, I wanted to get Vidal Sassoon there, but
Yeah,
for another, I couldn't get him. So we had somebody else.
I got I remember seeing, is it Beverly C? I remember seeing her on the show, but I don't know if she judged it.
I think she was a judge on the
Was
first
she?
series, I think.
Yeah, I remember she was doing some sort of seminar with the guys there one time. That was really cool. Okay. Just going again, we're just working visually at the moment. I'm just really opening this haircut up just to really show off texture. So we've still got all one length, but we've got all this different lengths going from the interior of the haircut, which gives this look sort of weightless texture throughout the hair itself. Absolutely love anything that gives it almost like just woke up in the morning and they haven't done much to it, but you just get some real nice texture from it. Just looking at the sides there, and it all just works beautifully. Just want to get a little bit of product in there and blow dry that off. There we go, get a face from you guys. I'm going to move out of the way in a moment. So we've got a lovely little fringe going on there. Short through the middle and longer towards the outside of the fringe, framing the face nicely. Bit of fullness and texture into the hair by taking that weight out from the interior allows the rest of the hair to stand up so you don't have all this weight collapsing down on top of it. And there's a softness to the actual haircut as well. How's that foot sort of looking, guys? Let's spin that around without me in the way. There we go.
And it works nice because you've got that sharp line on the underneath, then you've got that
exactly
over it.
Yeah, and it just livens it up in my eyes. Awesome. There we go. One length above with a razor. And hopefully, if you pick yourself one up, have a little play, see what you can create. I think it looks awesome.
It looks great. Have a little recap on that, Liam.
So let's have a little look at what we've done before. So I'm going to drop this head out of the way. Actually, no, we won't. I've got the haircut here. So we've done our original baseline with the razor. We didn't do it on this one. However, we did it on this one because I wanted to show that you can actually still cut a straight line with a razor, albeit a lot more feathered and a lot more textured. So we got the blade and we were just gently caressing the hair with the blade, no pressure into the actual hair itself because it's going to end up creating the same shape that you take away. I would literally just gently rest the blade and just caress it down the hair as if you're like really gently buttering toast, you know, just really gently. Don't push into the hair whatsoever. Just give that real texture. So we've got a nice bit of texture at the bottom, which increases that movement and texture there. But what it does, it still allows us to have that one length for two. So that's why we wanted to do that at the back there. With this one, the pre-done head, we've got a sharp line at the back here. I mean, look how super sharp, okay? Nothing sticking out, super sharp. But even though we went through the rest of the haircut with a razor, we've still been able to create a lovely shape with that. And we haven't used any scissors to create that shape. All been done visually with a razor, tweaking it as we went along, just to give it that lovely softness towards the bottom. Fringe, again, reason why I love the fringe is like this, because again, it's forgiving. The hair's going to move a lot more freely. Doesn't have to be blow dried perfectly. You could probably wake up and want to blast this with a hairdryer and still get that lovely earthy texture. Awesome. There we go.
Looks great, Liam. Thanks, mate. And the celebrity hairdresser that judged the other celebrities on season 3 was Nikki Clark. So
Nikki Clark. Oh, look.
Well done. If you could get your lecturer to send me a little email, let me know where we need to send the products and just give us a brief overview of your hair so we know what kind of products to send you. Liam, thank you very much, mate. Brilliant class as normal. You never let us down. Thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Look after yourselves. Be kind to one another. and enjoy your week. See you later, guys.
See you all soon. Take care.